Hi there. It's the fourth Sunday of Advent, which is also Christmas Eve this year. And I thought that I'd share a short video reflection on some of the scripture readings that have been suggested for churches to look at today. The reading from the Jewish scripture is from 2 Samuel chapter 7, verse 1 to 11 and verse 16. And what's happening with the psalm this Sunday, I don't often talk about the psalms, but this time the psalm actually comes from the gospel. The gospel, like the regular gospel reading, is Luke chapter 1, verse 26 to 38. And then the psalm is a little bit after that. It's Luke 1, 46 to 55, which is known as the Magnificat. It's the Song of Mary. So feel free to have a read of those three scriptures and start the video up again once you've had a read of those. It's Christmas Eve, and we might be surprised that so close to Christmas we're hearing a story about King David. Shouldn't we be hearing something more Christmassy? David looks at his beautiful palace and says to his court prophet, "I really should build one for God too, shouldn't I?" I wonder, what would we think if our Prime Minister, whoever it is, said, "I'm going to build a house for God, an official temple where God will live"? I think we'd be a bit suspicious about their motives, wouldn't we? In this story, God's having none of that. God says, "I live in a tent like the regular people do. I move around on the land with them as they do. I'm not confined to the fixed side of a temple. I'm down there with the people. I'm not going to be fixed in place in a fancy palace like yours, King David." In the gospel reading this morning, we finally have something that does sound Christmassy. The angel Gabriel appears to Mary, and the first thing that the angel says to Mary is, "Don't be afraid." It's something that angels often have to say to human beings, as angels often look strange or frightening. Since last Christmas, my family, we've been crafting together Christmas decorations, and one of the things that we've been making a lot of the time is angels that we cut out of magazines, and often they're a little bit strange or a bit weird. So there's this one that I made last year, which is like the shape is really just so that you can hang it on the Christmas tree easily. But I just cut up this painting and sort of rearranged the pieces to make it. And then I made this one, which is a smoking cowboy angel, I think. And then this year, my partner made this one, which is, I don't know if you can figure out what it is, but it's basically a pig that's swimming in the sea, a photo of a pig that's swimming in the sea, and she's added wings onto it. So the angels are often kind of strange, and that could be part of the reason why the angel has to say, "Don't be afraid," because they can look kind of strange or scary. What the angel has to say to Mary is dangerous and scary as well, though. In Luke's Gospel and also in Matthew's Gospel, it says that Mary is a virgin, and we might be able to accept that, or we might struggle with it, as a lot of people do in contemporary society. If we struggle to accept this, it's okay, because other biblical witnesses don't seem to think that it's important to say that Mary is a virgin. Mark's Gospel, which is the earliest written Gospel, says nothing about Mary being a virgin, and neither does John's Gospel, which is the latest Gospel to have been written and included in the Bible. And Paul was also writing letters to ancient churches before any of the Gospels were written, and his letters don't say anything about Mary being a virgin either. Ancient biographies in that part of the world often started with a story of a miraculous birth to foreshadow the significance of the life story that was beginning to be told. Luke and Matthew are starting the story in this way to tell us about how remarkable Jesus' story is going to be. The angel says, "Don't be afraid," and Mary would have had good reason to be afraid as an unmarried mother. In that part of the ancient world, a woman's welfare often depended on marrying a man who would welcome her into his household and have responsibility to provide for her. And this unexpected pregnancy, it might mean that no man would marry her now and that she would have no stable place within the patriarchal system. She'd be at risk of being shunned by other people in her community, and she'd be at risk of being victimized and exploited. In Mary's song, the Magnificat, she's imagining a levelling of society with the poor and vulnerable people being raised up and the rich and powerful being brought down so that everyone is on the same level. God has made this happen by coming down from a place of power and joining regular human people and living among them as a newborn child of a single mother in occupied territory. This levelling is the kind of change that Christians hope to see in the world. This is the reign of God that we're hoping for, where Christ the King dwells on the same level as the ordinary people, living among us and sharing life with us.